So I wanted to switch gears a little bit this week, and I finally got time to jump into this Audi here. This is a 2010 Audi S5 with the V8 4.2 liter. This particular car only has, I believe, about 44,000 original miles on it. And this is pretty much the way that I picked it up. It hasn't been clean, detailed. I don't even believe I washed it since I bought it a couple months ago. But this one is pretty loaded up as far as the options go. I mean, I believe it has pretty much everything. It has the carbon fiber inlays here, and also around the center console area, right in there. It has the Bang & Olufsen upgraded audio system, which actually sounds really good. And I believe it has what they call the Prestige package, which also gets you the blind spot detection from whenever you turn your turn signal on. And if there's somebody in the lane you're turning into, you'll get a notification up in this corner light here in your mirror, indicating that somebody's in your blind spot, telling you not to turn. So this one is a 6-speed manual, and I particularly chose that just because I haven't drove a manual in a long time. And any kind of manual vehicles, let alone be an economy car, a supercar, a sports car, a grand touring car, are just becoming more and more difficult to find with a manual transmission. And I believe they are fun, and they definitely have their place, but I think their time is certainly coming as more and more manufacturers are unfortunately doing away with them in favor of more modern automatic transmissions. So I kind of want to enjoy while I can and find these low mile cars to play around with. And this one is definitely a fun car. On cruising on the highway, you're doing 80 miles an hour. It just cruises unbelievably quiet, powerful, and feels super stable on the road. But I love the color of the interior on this car too. This magma red looks awesome with this paint. And this paint is not just a flat black. I believe it's actually called Phantom Black. And you can't tell now because it's so dirty. But it has a really nice gray metallic flake throughout the entire paint. And once this is cleaned up and detailed, that's going to look really good. So I wanted to get started on the maintenance here today. As I said, this car only has about 44,000 original miles, somewhere in that area. One original owner prior to me. And talking with the original owner, I was asking him if he ever had the carbon cleaning done for the valves, and he had said he wasn't sure what that was, so I'm taking that as, he never had that done. With such low miles, you wouldn't expect that kind of maintenance to be done. But from what I've read, it seems about every 35,000 miles or that thereabout, you should be having this service done, and I'll show you why. This is a direct injection engine as far as fuel is concerned. So the fuel injectors would live in these ports or cutouts right here on both banks of the engine. And the fuel injectors are actually spraying fuel directly into the cylinder head instead of into the port with the valves first. And that supposedly improves fuel economy and performance, but there is one drawback to that. It might be a little hard to capture on camera here. I'm going to try to. Yeah, I'll show you. If you take a look into this port here, you might be able to see it. You can see it's full of gunk, and the valves are just covered with like a black soot that's actually gummy when you touch it, or sticky, I should say. And get a better light. You can kind of make that out. So that's the result of the fuel being sprayed directly into the cylinder, as opposed to on a engine that doesn't have direct injection. It sprays the fuel into this port with the intake valves, and we'll actually clean those intake valves with the detergents and the fuel, and whenever it washes down the walls, it'll keep these valves nice and clean. And that's the drawback on these cars. And if you don't clean these every so often, you will get misfires and a lack of I wouldn't say lack of performance. You will lose a little bit of power. The car will idle roughly. You'll lose some gas mileage just because these ports get so gummed up and full of shit. And these are the actual dividers that go into the cylinders there. You can see how dirty and disgusting these are too. Just rubbing my hand on it. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Is I have some walnut media, fine media, and I have a port adapter made specifically for these ports that'll cover up this area here, and then you put a vacuum into one side of the adapter, and you put your media blaster into the other side, and it allows you to work it around in this kind of motion and really hit all corners of this in every angle inside this port to clean it. And then on the other side, there's another tube where you insert a vacuum into. So that vacuum will then pull out all of that old media while you're spraying it in on the other side. So once it hits the walls and takes off whatever it's going to, the vacuum will then suck it back up. So it doesn't create a mess. Now, if you did this without that port adapter, you would have the walnut shells and shit flying all over the place and make a huge mess over everything. So there was a guy I found on one of the Audi forums that actually makes these adapters, and I believe I paid $30 or something for it. Just a little plastic piece that he made out of some material. I forget what it was. So I have that now, and that's ready to go. I'm actually going to soak these dividers and the ports with a intake cleaner, this CRC intake valve and turbo cleaner. I don't know why they call it turbo cleaner. But I'm going to soak the ports with this overnight and allow that to start breaking down that guck on the inside of that. And then I can suck this out tomorrow morning, whatever's left in there, and then hit it with the media or walnut, which will break down everything else and then really polish up those valves and make them look brand new again. While I'm in there, this car was having a slight misfire. I believe it was on cylinder 7 or 8, and that could be due to a coil pack, spark plug, a fuel injector, or just the result of the carbon buildup. And like I said, while I'm in here, I'm just going to kind of do like a blunderbuss of maintenance, since it's not that expensive, and just kind of throw everything at it at once to fix that issue. So I'm going to do the carbon cleaning. I'm going to change all 8 injectors for brand new OEM injectors. I'm going to change the spark plugs, the coil packs, the air filter, engine air filter, and I believe that's it for up in this area. And then I'm going to do the cabin filter, the brake fluid, the drive line fluids, such as the differential transfer case. This doesn't have one, so it's a manual, obviously. But the manual transmission fluid. And, they said pretty much just all the little maintenance things, wiper blades. And then I have a couple more modifications. I'm going to try to do something with the exhaust. I don't want to spend $2,000 on an exhaust for this car. So I'm going to try to rework maybe the rear mufflers a little bit and put in an X-pipe possibly. As right now, the car is extremely quiet and you can barely hear anything from the exhaust, and that's just kind of the car it is, and that's how Audi wanted it to be presented. But it does have a very nice, like I said, a 4.2 liter V8, which sounds awesome when you open it up. So if that's as far as the maintenance is going to go, I'm not going to do much with performance on this car just because it is NA and there's not too much you can do. A tune will get you maybe 8 to 12 horsepower, which isn't worth it. I'm not going to be putting any forced induction on it. Just like I said, it's not worth it. and just enjoy the car as an NA 6-speed manual. And like I said, they're really kind of dying out, especially with the V8. You're just seeing less and less V8s and less manuals, and kind of want to keep it true to form, but modernize it a little bit. I have a really nice set of 20-inch wheels I'm going to be putting on it. And then also, the worst part about this car, or any of these pre-facelift S5s, is this grille. I mean, this thing is ugly with that big gray bar going across. So I have the nicer RS style grille, gloss black grille with the chrome accent just on the outside of it that I'm going to be putting on. And then also replacing these gray plastic fog light surrounds. I have a nice set of the honeycomb or mesh style surrounds that I had painted gloss black as well, because they just come in a cheap plastic. So that'll be gloss black, and that'll be gloss black. And I'm going to change out the headlight bulbs for a newer set of the Osram CBB or Cold Blue Boost, I believe what they're called. And those are the highest output or best looking and your highest rating for light output for a D2S bulb. And I believe this car is a D3S, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the bulbs I got for it. Like I said, not too much to do on this one. I'm going to start doing this maintenance this week, and hopefully I'll be able to detailing it by the middle of next week, and then be done with it the following week. And then I can jump back into the next AMG project, which is this SL55, which I'm currently working on, but it's going to take a little while longer. So I just wanted to knock this S5 out first and then continue with the AMG. If you guys are any owners out there of the S5 with the V8, if you've done any exhaust modifications you want to share with me, and let me know how you like what you have, or any other kind of modifications. I'd love to hear about them. Well, I just thought about that. I'm going to do two things on the interior as well. Changing the original shift knob, which is, it's like a smooth leather and there's a lot of plastic on it. And I got one from, I believe, called Black Forest Industries, which is a weighted shift knob, but it has the perforated leather on the outside. So it's a much heavier knob, which will make going into the gears, much smoother and more enjoyable to row through. And then I got a flat bottom steering wheel, which actually came from a guy in Poland, which looks really nice for what I paid for it. And compared to some of the other ones in the States, the people were charging 3 times the price for basically the same thing. This guy does killer work with these steering wheels. If anyone's curious, or like I said, what has an S5 and wants to put that kind of wheel in their car, I'll show it in maybe the next video of me installing it, and I'll let you know the guy's information. Yeah, so if any other owners of the S5 are out there, maybe watching this, let me know what kind of exhaust setup you have. Like I said, I'm not trying to spend a couple grand on the cards for exhaust, just because I'm not going to have it that long, and just looking to up the volume a little bit and get a little more tone out of it. Yeah, so that's it for now. Take care.